Welcome back to Chicory Colourful Tale. I'm Dear Darling, and pick up your brush as we paint the world all over in every beautiful colour, where of course in this episode we'll be doing a few more of our art class gallery thingamajigs right now, with the art classes in general. And it'll probably be just side stuff in these two episodes. But what I want to do is I want to finish off the art class stuff, because I have looked at, I looked at a guide and it says at the top, nothing is missable in this game, which suggests to me that we can do everything post-game. So instead of doing all the collectathon stuff before fighting what I assume is going to be the final boss, I'm going to do the collectathon stuff after fighting the final boss. But I want to get all the art class stuff done before we actually fight the final boss, because I feel like that makes sense. So we're going to do some art classes today, and we are going to... so for the first episode, we're going to explore... we're going to do like 3 art classes, and in the next episode I'm recording today, we're going to explore all the other acres which we haven't been to. So, you know... Perhaps it'll be a little bit slower, I suppose, compared to previous ones, but previous episodes, not much has happened in sense of story progression, but, you know, that's at least my plan, so I'm just, you know, giving you a heads up. Anyway, take a look at this old classic. Oh, this is quite nice. Honestly, this is very much my sort of vibe of... I could see myself drawing this sort of thing. It's like perfectly the sort of thing I would draw. A breezy field by Vanilla. Do your best to try and recreate it. Now, it's going to be quite a difficult thing to recreate because we don't have many very, very pale colours. So we got to improvise, of course, a little bit of, as we always do, we use blue, just for the background. Hold on, my mouse is on the wrong speed. I'm not really sure how we're going to do this mountain. We need a blue which barely shows up on this background. Ooh, like this. Okay, this should be our background sky colour, and then we'll use that light blue to be the shadows of a mountain, because we want it to not really sort of appear. You know, we want it to not be nearly as evident. I think like that. So, you know, start out with the base, get a smaller brush. What colour do we use? This one to get a little bit more texture, I think, of a mountain in, if at all possible. I keep wanting to press X to try and switch between my current colour and my secondary colour, but of course that's not a thing which with Chicory, I can't really see what I'm doing. The colours, the contrast is not big enough. That's not obviously something you can do using the Chicory colouring interface. So a lot of it kind of gets erased, that's fine. We just need a little bit of texture here and there. Like this, and we'll get some of it poking out, just like this, and we'll get a thin line going across here with a bit more shadow, if we can. With the emphasis that this mountain is meant to be very faint and meant to blend into the background. So of course we'll thin out the line like this, and we'll draw everything in front of it. So we're going to draw the wheat. Okay, so this character, she's in like a lake or something. I can't really tell what this is. So I'm just trying to think what colours I want to use. I wonder if we should use white for the actual, this fox? I'm not sure, dog herself. White and red is the sort of vibe it gives me, the actual clothes she's wearing. Oh, I don't want to make her white, maybe yellow. Okay, we'll make her white, dress yellow, her accessories will be red. And then we'll have blue. Yeah, okay, so then we'll give her very warm colours while the entire background will be quite cool. That will perhaps be an interesting contrast. We sort of wheats is going to be, I guess we'll just use a sort of like blue. To be perfectly honest, this sort of blue, we're going to fill in this entire thing with sort of vaguely blue straight lines going up and down, and we'll have them sort of interwoven between each other. We'll try and make them a bit thicker at the top. We'll try and give it a little bit of like the wheat heads, you know, like this. Obviously we're not going to get any of that sort of detail in, unfortunately. We're going to have to extrapolate an ickle bit if we do something like this. That's perfectly fine. We'll get some darker blues, of course, in here a little bit as well. It doesn't really look like a wheat field, I suppose, when we draw it like this, but I suppose that's more, we need to draw be sort of more straight line, longer lines, rather than having them be so disconnected. In the first place, I think maybe we'll end up using purple for water, I'm not really sure. Just make sure we just sort of alternate back and forth using these lines to try and get them going. Oh, we can use this blue, perhaps, for the water. Should we do that? Okay, yeah, let's use this blue for the water. Well, we should have not. I don't know, I suppose is the big question. But luckily, there's not too much detail where I think we're missing out on this sort of thing. We'll have, well, firstly, we'll... Oh, that's the wrong colour. I can't remember what colour I used for any of this. We'll draw the blue to make sure they actually go on top of the water this time. To actually give a feeling of the water... of a wheat actually being in the lake, the water itself. And then we'll use a different shade of blue to act as a reflection. I kind of want a more faded sense of blue. So I think... well, the reflection's actually kind of a lot brighter now, look at it. So I guess we'll use sort of... that doesn't quite look right, does it? I think we'll just use this and just have him be a lot shorter to try and be a sort of reflection of the water. It's not going to be perfect, of course, but, you know, we got to try. And then over here, this is where we're going to draw her head. I really want to see what other people have done now for all these artworks, because I'm sure people have done utterly incredible things. I mean, seeing some of the mediums that people work with for art, you know, and I say this all the time. There was this one creator I saw, like, during Art Fight, which is sort of like an annual art event, and they basically only used a mouse and they used MS Paint for all their drawings, and I was like, that is incredible. The amount of detail you sort of managed to get on this sort of thing, and such a difficult medium as well. So no doubt, I'm sure they could do something equally good as this. Oh, we don't have another yellow to actually do any shading on this. That's going to be quite a nuisance. But that's okay. We won't think about that too hard quite yet. I'm honestly shocked. This is probably like... I could see myself drawing something exactly like this. This is so, like, exactly my sort of style in this... Well, not exactly my style, but definitely my sort of aesthetic, isn't it? That I would draw. It feels almost too perfect. Perhaps I am vanilla in this world. But I'm not. I'm spaghetti. Cover up that arm a little bit. Get a little bit of that muscle texture, if I can. Which I can't, by the way, so that's not going to happen. But have that hand come out here, and we're going to have, of course, the red hat. See, everything's quite bright in this photo. At least the way I've drawn it, which makes it a little bit difficult to actually see a lot of the detail. I think is becoming one of the problems. But, you know, you have to pick and choose your battles, I suppose. There's not really much I can do about it. I already used such a dark red for this, but I suppose we can use our palette red to try and get some more shape out of this entire thing. Like this. Draw a little bow there. As best we can. Something like that. I don't really know. That doesn't really look like a bow. Okay, shading. Do we have a yellow? Okay, we can use, luckily, our palette yellow for a bit of shading. Not a huge amount, mind you, because it's rather block colour what we've ended up using, but if we have it, since we got the opportunity to, we might as well. I would say her ears don't look quite the same. And I think we want her hair going upon the scarf a little bit. And then perhaps if we can use a very dark red, I suppose, that we got here. As that sort of nose. And I think we'll not put the eye in, because I think I will certainly ruin it. Okay, where else do we want to put shading? Okay, do we have a sort of black, which is this purple, which we'll use as her little feet, I assume. I can't quite tell, it's quite far away. And then we can use a purple over here to act as a sort of messy reflection. Of course, we want to make it feel a bit more messy. In fact, we did something quite similar to this, like using the idea of reflection, didn't we? What did I draw? What did I end up drawing? I drew like frogs, didn't I? That sounds about right. And we can use light blue here, I think, for perhaps the ripples across the water. Even though it's a bit of the same colour of the sky, hopefully it gives a similar sort of impression. And then what colour do we want to use as these sort of petals which are fluttering off into the wind? Where the petals are even coming from is a good question. I think yellow might be an interesting sort of contrast. No, I think we'll use red. The same, maybe not quite the same red, but a similar red basically to the red, which is of your accessories, because I think that's a nice sort of contrast. Gives a sort of link. Perhaps there might not actually be a link between this character and these sort of petals, but I'm sort of taking my own interpretation and making one. We can certainly see we got the proportions a little bit wrong. You know, we got it going in front of a mountain when it shouldn't be, but that's fine. I think I do want to sort of make the top parts over here a bit heavier. I can't remember what blue this is. There we go. To at least vaguely make it feel like wheat chaps. I don't know if it's wheat. Maybe it's lavender. Now think about it, if it's meant to be a fruit, not fruit, a flower. Sorry. Well, I also just noticed another there's another mountain in the background, which will vaguely sort of paint in, not, you know, with much sense of detail or whatever, because there's not really much room for it. And honestly, I think that's kind of fine. The dress shading here has gone a bit funky, and I'll certainly say that much. At the very least. Oh yeah, it was a palette yellow, wasn't it? Oh, we actually have 2 yellows. Oh, so we can actually put a little bit more. We could put some highlights here in these colours to try and give it a bit more depth, I suppose. Unfortunately, my character does sort of look like she's sort of leaning forward rather than, you know, sort of standing back and watching things go by. And I think that's just due to the posing I've done on it. It looks a bit like she's stabbing. It's because these legs are not quite in line with her body. At least this one isn't. But I can't bother to paint over it, so I think it'll probably be good enough as a rendition. So there we go, done. Alright, the brush is down. Let's see how we did. So, if I recall, I think we have 5 or so more paintings to do, so I think we can get this done in 2 episodes. It feels mysterious, just like the original. I wonder what the artist was thinking about. Their shapes are complex. There's a lot to think about. You made good use of that light teal colour. I can't help but notice a splash of dark red. This was a tough one for me, but you did great, Spaghetti. Aw, thanks, Clementine. Okay, that's it for now. Your piece will be in Eleven's Master Gallery, Spaghetti. Keep practicing, and of course by keep practicing we're going to immediately do another art lesson. I wonder if these art lessons are actually gated off by a progress, I suppose, through chapters in the story. We never really got gated off because I guess we didn't try and do many in a row, but still. For today's assignment, I want you to create a cool or scary creature. We've done a cute creature before, but I want to see you express something more intense. Think about where your creature might live, or what sort of things it eats. That might give you a clue to figure out its form. Okay, a cool or scary creature. We have so many greens. One time I wanted a load of reds. Okay, a cool or scary creature. Now, first thing that came to mind is a dragon, I guess. That's going to be very difficult to draw, though. It's not that I haven't drawn dragons before, but certainly on this limited scheme, it's going to be quite a challenge, isn't it? And so I'm sort of just like brainstorming in my mind, what else could we do? Maybe we could do some sort of like Leviathan, or like a Kraken, a Cthulhu-esque monstrosity, perhaps some sort of eldritch being. That could be an interesting idea, an eldritch being. Like, so perhaps we could just draw like a wall of ice. Okay. There's an interesting prospect, which we're going to start off with a sort of dark background here. And I want to... Oh, that is barely visible. I want to basically draw a load of eyes. Just sort of staring. I want to make it feel like a bit of an eldritch monstrosity. And then we'll have the sort of green going on over here. And a slightly bigger brush. With these eyes all staring at this one person down here. Now, it sort of raises a question like, how much of a creature is the eyes, or how much isn't the creature of the eyes? What does that even mean? Like, is it just like a load of floating eyes? Is this entire sky? Is it the whole creature? I don't know. But that's a point of an eldritch understanding of it is rather minimal. Eldritch creatures are far beyond your own human comprehension. laws of physics do not need to abide. What? I mean, they don't need to abide by the law of physics, I suppose. There's actually quite, this concept of then, now I think about it, it's actually quite simple because there's not really much to draw except for a load of eyes. But they're all staring. Oh, what if they all stared at you? Like us? That's certainly intimidating in its own right, isn't it? I kind of like the idea of them staring at like someone who's come to approach them, like for whatever reason. They're like trying to seek out a bargain, like a pact with an eldritch being, being like, smite my enemies, etc., etc. At least it's somewhat appealing to me to have a very sort of scary concept of all of these eyes, I suppose, staring at you. And then we'll have one main eye, of course, over here to do the bulk of the staring. And to be the bulk of a contrast of where our little person will be standing. Sort of vaguely in front of them. I think we'll use our palette, dark purple. Something like this. And we'll see how long the shadow they cast is. That's the same colour green. I don't think we have a darker colour of green. So, we're going to invert this green and make this green the darkness. The dark colour of the ground, while the other green will be the sort of shadow they cast. I guess we should have drawn this iris first, shouldn't we? And then bring back that dark purple in front of him. And I guess the striations of a shadow can come back, No. Oh. Redo. I want to give a grass a bit more texture, but it getting lighter, I suppose, around the outside doesn't really make much sense, but we're going to do it anyway. I noticed Mr. Pupil here. Also Mr. Eye here. We've certainly got to fill those in. Well, we don't have to, but we might as well. I suppose we could, I don't know, we have it like a writhing mass of like tentacles as well, I suppose, going on, but I feel like it just being eyes is certainly a lot creepier in its own right, is it not? I think it's pretty creepy just like us, to be honest. Just a floating mass of eyes staring at this one poor unfortunate soul. Kind of wish I had a darker blue. Do I have a palette? A darker blue in my palette? No, I think we've only got this purple, so which we can use perhaps to sort of shade off the corners. To try and give a little bit of a foreboding atmosphere to this entire thing, We'll do our usual sort of dotted gradient. And then we can have a bit more purple, I don't know. If anything, I think it's kind of spooky enough, isn't it? Do we need much else? Oh, we do have a light blue. I mean, that's pretty spooky in its own right, isn't it? It's sort of just like staring you down. Oh, night sky. Tormented souls. It looks like a big old like octopus head or something. I'm just gonna call it done. Alright, brushes down. Let's see how they look. I don't think we're going to be able to improve or add much more, I suppose, to the concept we've done here. It's kind of like, that's it. Oh, cool. Grr. I wouldn't want to meet this one. But shapes are diverse. There's a lot to take in. I feel like Quinoa, you said there's a lot to take in for every single one of my drawings, which I'm not sure if it's a compliment at this point if you say for every single one. You really put my dark blue to work. I like how you used just a touch of dark purple. It's super, super cool. It reminds me of this movie I really love. Maybe it has a kind heart though. That's what I like to think. Maybe it does, you know. Maybe it just wants the best in people or something, you know. A kind Cthulhu. Simmering Springs Resort. Looking to grant people's wishes or something like that, you know, like a benevolent genie. I think we've got just enough time for one more art class. And then I think we'll only have 2 more after this. So, you know, we're really getting through this. Oh my god, these are getting so difficult, some of these ones to recreate. I don't know how on earth I'm going to do this one in the slightest. I do like this cat's expression. The Bachelor Party by Plantain. Let's see how you bring it to life. And the answer is I'm not going to, but thankfully they have given us a dark base colour, at the very least. Or is this one darker? No, this is probably what we use for that cat. I don't know if we want a white table. Let's like a yellow table. And we use this sort of orange for this cat. Oh my god, this one's such a nightmare. A one. Not like it's a bad drawing in that sense, it's not. It's a fantastic drawing, but this is such a difficult one to reproduce. Like, come on. Like, I like it when it's the stylized ones, because the stylized ones, obviously I could put my own sort of style on it and it feels okay, but when it's obviously meant to be a much more realistic sort of tone. One, I don't really do much realism drawing in the first place, so that's already quite, you know, an obstacle to get over. But 2, it's quite difficult to recreate, isn't it? Oh, I don't like this yellow. Maybe it should be white. A white table. And then we'll have dark purple cats, you know, start with the major shapes that we need. Arms. This cat clearly has a little bit too much to drink. There's almost like a tangent here, I suppose, in this little nook or cranny, crevice. Not really sure what the most appropriate word would be. But it's a tiny gap there, so we do have to give it a little bit of gap over here. I'm not even sure. I haven't even considered how I'm going to do the reflection of that bottle yet, but let's not think about it. We just start with our purple and get the general outlines, get the general shape, and then simplify. Because obviously we are not going to be able to recreate this. Those cat ears are not quite the right shape. I'm looking at it now. I made it too tall. I made it too much in my style, which is, you know, fine. Everyone's got their own style that they, of course, want to reproduce. Or not reproduce that. Everyone's got their sort of own style inevitably. But this is not a challenge of our own style. This is a challenge of their style and our recreation of it. We're going to get some bit of contrast in, so I think we'll use red for this colour here, and then we're going to try and use orange as a sort of fur. It's not working with slightest, is it? Orange and yellow, sure. And it's okay if we go over onto the table a little bit, because we can always paint back over with the table. And it's not that big a deal. And we want to get all the fur colour down first. It looks like there's mostly orange sort of here, a little bit of yellow around here for the nuzzle. And then we're going to give you like blue eyes or something. Something just completely different to actually make it stand out, methinks. Meow thinks. And a bit of a darker blue. Maybe not that dark blue, we already used that dark blue. That's the eyes. Oh god. Perhaps there's a nose. And a very small mouth. Because we cannot afford to really put much more detail in. That's probably how I'd mention it. No, I guess we'll use orange here for the inner ear. No, we should use different orange. Because otherwise it starts melding a little bit together in all the stripes we put down already. Kind of looks like a spaghetti cat or something. Lasagna. So we'll move that to the side. And this cat, we're going to have to... I suppose we could use our own custom purple, right? To get the general sort of big shapes, big shading shapes down. This one's stripes are much more, I think, prominent compared to the others, and we'll put this stuff in the middle. Let's try and mimic the patterns going on. It is a little bit difficult though. We don't need to worry too much about this arm because it's going to be coloured over, I think, mostly. I I guess we're using this purple as a sort of bright contrast. I don't really like that one, I'm going to be honest. What? Which one's brighter? They're both... Oh, actually this one could be... No, that's too pinkish. Okay, we're going to use this one. We need it for its like muzzle, it's like open mouth, it's like what? It's not going to work in the slightest. Is all I've established, I think, from this. It doesn't look great, is what I'll say. It's not my proudest work, not my proudest recreation. But hopefully if you sort of like squint your eyes at it a little bit, you can kind of see the shapes which I'm going for. It's a little bit difficult, I suppose, otherwise to really get these ones down. I should have given you purple eyes so we can do like purple and yellow. But we're going to give you bright, striking yellow eyes. Because, I don't know, it's a nice contrast, I suppose. Oh, this looks hilarious. And a shocked mouth like this. And, the nose, I guess we'll do in a dark orange. I don't really know. Oh, I don't know how we're going to do the monocle. I completely forgot about the monocle entirely. Maybe we sort of just do a half monocle. I don't even know where this goes to. We'll give you a different colour monocle, probably. I'm only doing a half monocle because I don't want... I kind of just want to give the impression of it, you know, going around the eye. You got the gist of what's going on, I suppose, with it in the first place. There's no need to even further complicate it. I guess we're going to have like a dark green bottle in front of you. Mainly because there's not many colours, I suppose, left to do a sort of contrast with. And I'm not even going to think about how these reflections are going to work. I'm just going to paint. And, you know, someone else can probably do a better job and think about how these reflections of a stripy cat work through this round bottle, or cylindrical bottle. But that person is not going to be me. I will just put a vague sort of ideas of shine, which is on the bottle. So obviously, I cannot mix most of these colours to get exactly what I would quite prefer. So we're just going to sort of vaguely throw some colours down and just say, you know, that's good enough job of what we're doing. Get some shading down. I've just noticed there's a tiny little glass over here. I guess we're just using green for our glass because we don't really have many other colorations, which will probably stand out here, which is a little bit of an issue, but, you know. We'll do something like this. I don't know what that is in the corner, I'm going to be perfectly honest, like this square thing? I can't tell. It looks like a stamp, I think. Either way, we're going to paint it mostly, I think, off the canvas in the first place, so, you know, you can't even tell what it is in the first place. If I can't tell what it is, I don't think anyone else could. It looks like it's like a stamp of a person, so I'm going to try and vaguely put person in. There's another glass over here. Oh my word. This one is such a mess. The colours are very confusing. I can't keep track of the colours I've used, but hopefully at least that gives it the sort of same sort of vibe. If I only had a different shade of blue, because I just realised that there's a lot of texture in the background there. I do have a different shade of blue, but that's far too bright. Maybe one of my palette blues would work. Not really. Yeah, none of these are quite bright enough. If only there was like a very mild sort of transparency brush. Like we could turn down the opacity, which there might be a brush style which is opacity, but I don't think that's really in the spirit of the game. So I think screen tones might be the only thing we got. So we'll do this, and then we'll get a thinner brush to basically break up some of these clumps a little bit. Try and give that sort of brushy effect, a very textured effect, which we're not going to be able to recreate particularly well. So there we go. This is probably the worst recreation I think I've done thus far. It's a very complex one, so I'm not, you know, all too surprised in the end. But alright, brush this down. Let's see how we did. We got one step closer, I suppose, to completing all these art classes. I wish I could be at a party too. Which one are you? I'm the one on the left. The shapes are diverse. There's a lot to take in. Seriously, Quinoa, you say that about everything. I can't help but notice a splash of blue-green. A splash? I can see you're a big fan of that colour. I'm probably the one on the right. They look like they were having fun. I can feel that in your painting too. Well, you know, they kind of look upset if anything, but thank you anyway. Okay, that's it for now. Your piece will be Eleventus Master Gallery, Spaghetti. Keep practicing. Well, you know, that's a good sort of amount of art classes to be doing in this episode. We're not going to be doing the other art classes, I think, in this episode. Instead, we're going to be doing a bit of exploration. We still have a few more places which we need to explore too. Not many, mind you, and we have a couple of side quests to do, which we'll be tackling in the next episode, hopefully. But for now, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Chicory, a colourful tale. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join me, Dear Darling Discord, follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.